So now you may be asking yourself the question, how do I start? What are the right use cases? What are the right scenarios? What are the right opportunities that I go after? Because we all know in today's enterprise, success is the only way you get adoption. If you start your conversational AI journey and fumble in the beginning, it's very hard to get buy-in from the rest of the business, buy-in from stakeholders, buy-in from your customers. It is critical to be successful when you begin. I would share some thoughts on that. I have some suggestions based on the mistakes that we've made and lessons I've personally learned from implementing conversational AI in large and complex environments. First and foremost, we all obviously agree, look for opportunities where there's a high volume. Okay, no brainer, right? Don't need to go more into that. Not something that occurs once a month, but 10,000 times a month, or customers call about this, majority of the contacts, etc. In a typical Pareto principle, look for the 20% of the contacts that you would have that drive 80% of your volume, and that's where you focus. Great. Now you've identified the high volume. The second thing that's very important is that your conversational AI actually solves a problem. I cannot overstate this. I've made this mistake. I deployed a conversational AI for one of our peer organizations, and we wanted to move quickly, and we said, you know what, back-end integrations will take too long. We don't want to deal with it. Let's just make it FAQ-based. You then had a conversational AI that had a very high rate of accuracy and about 23% satisfaction rate from the contacts it was handling. Imagine that. Problem is, nobody talks to a human being looking for an FAQ answer or a do-it-yourself. They call or contact help to get help, solve a problem. Help me never have to address this again myself. If your conversational AI solves the issue that it was contacted about, it is much more likely to get contacted again about it. So now you've identified things that are high volume. You've then said, you know what, these should be things that the conversation can actually do something about in a dialogue, not just be an FAQ-based, use the power of conversational AI. And then 3, you have to now think about enabling your conversational AI to solve the problem you identified. What does enablement mean? If I hired somebody off the street for a contact center, and I sat them down and I gave them no access to internal systems to do that job when a customer called, not a very valuable contact center agent. You need to enable your cognitive agent, your conversational AI, like you would a human being. You have to give it access to the right back-end systems, give it access to the infrastructure in the business so that it can actually do what it needs to do, solve the problem. This will raise your typical biggest question mark in picking use case. Do back-end APIs exist? Are the external systems accessible? Are there something I control, or do I have to partner with another line of business to deliver? And this is not Harry Potter magic. It's not going to just work. This is a traditional IT implementation project now you're taking on and saying, hey, what systems can I integrate with? And what can I actually enable my conversational AI to solve? I have seen engagements where we have taken very promising use cases that were high volume and deprioritized them because you could not actually get the conversational AI with a backend system solve the problem. So I would focus on those 3 tenets. If you are able to address high volume, solving a problem, and enabling with your backend systems, you have a much stronger likelihood of being able to deliver a successful conversational AI experience when you get started.